Hi everyone, and thank you for purchasing the video Gallery Shopify section by qwiqode. In this video, I'll be showing you how to actually use it. So if you haven't installed it yet, please refer to the separate video included in the package, and you also have access to a PDF with some instructions. So to get started, head over to your theme editor, navigate to the page you want to add the section to, and then over on the left, click on Add Section, search for the section that you installed. Now, we get a default view with some predefined content. Over on the right, we have a bunch of different settings that we'll get to in a moment. And then over on the left, we have the videos, each separate videos as blocks, where you can add them, you can change the order, etc. So let's start by adding some content. So select an image. Over here, you can put in the video URL, or here you can paste a local MP4 video that you would upload to the Shopify admin. If you go to settings and then choose files, you can upload a video there and then copy the path and then just paste it right into here. Next, you can select the orientation of the video, whether it's landscape or portrait. So they can mix and match in between if you'd like. And then you can set up a video title and subtitle for each one. Let's go to the next one. This is another landscape image. Video, excuse me. This one will be a portrait image. Another landscape. And another portrait. Okay. So as you can see, we added the content and you can scroll through them like that. And of course, you have the option of selecting the video, playing it here, of course, or scrolling through. And as you can see, when it's portrait, then the orientation changes like that. All right, let's head over to the settings. So clicking over on the main section, you could set up a section title. So our skin treatments, let's just call that. Next, you can select an HTML element for the title. This is good for two reasons. One, for SEO. Google or other search engines look at texts and rank them in hierarchy relative to its importance on the page in terms of content. So you have an option from H1 to H6. H1 is, let's say, that it's a page title. It's like the most important piece of information on the page. And that's why you're usually recommended to just use one. And so, for instance, on this page, this would be the H1. So H2, I usually do the sections H2, but you can do it, select whichever one you want. The other benefit is your current theme already has preset styling option or styling settings for each one. So it would inherit those settings, whether it's bold or size, etc. You can change them here as well, but if you want to just keep it the same, you could just select it. So if I choose H4, as you can see, it automatically changes to whatever. Next, you can also add in some another text block underneath, like so. And here too, you can select whether you want it H1 or H2 and so on. Next, We have option here to select how many slides you want to show. So right now there's 4. You see 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. You can choose to select 3. The size of them will grow, or you can make them much more. We can just keep it at 3 right now. You could do autoplay slides, and so that they'll automatically scroll. And the speed here is every 4 seconds. So you could make it go much quicker, like that. Keep it at 3 and turn that off so it doesn't bother us. Overflow of items, as you can see, the items here are overflowing, so you can turn that off, and then you can have gallery work like that. And infinite scroll means it just continues looping without a beginning and end. So you can have it start, and then when you scroll, and that's it. There's no more to go. So just keep that there. Next, we could set the space between each slide, so you can make them either touching or just a slight space or a big one, just like that. Just keep this at something like so. And we also have the option for the space between the slides on mobile view as well. Next is the arrows. So we can set the arrow to be a different color. So you have the line and you have the background. So let's say we want the background to be this kind of darkish, and we can keep this as black, which is fine. But you can, of course, change it to whatever color you'd like. Let's do something like that. Next, you can set the distance of the arrows from the edge here. So right now it's at 20. If it's at 0, it'll be a little bit over like that. Or you can make it much further in. Or you can change it and say you want it outside of the wrapper. And then this distance will be the distance from here, like so. Let's also turn the overflow on again. You also have an option to use your own custom arrows, so you can select an image up there for each one. Or if you have an SVG that you'd like to put into here, you can also upload that into settings files, like I mentioned about the videos, and then paste the path right into here for the left arrow and for the right arrow. Moving on, we have this button here which expands it to a grid, so you can view all the videos in a grid or in a carousel. So you can set what the default state is, whether it's in a carousel or whether it's starting in a grid. And you can change the text of the toggle itself. Expand, minimize, let's say we just keep it small like that. Next, for the grid, let's change this to grid so we can easily see the changes. We can choose between 2, 3, or 4 columns in the grid, like that. And on mobile, you can choose either 1 or 2. So if we're going into the mobile view, right now it's at 1. You can also set it up as 2, like that. Next, you have the gap between the items, each video. So you can set that, let's say, to be the same like we had before, which I believe was 12. We can move this like that. Next, we have settings for the section in its entirety. So we have what's called 3 options for section width. So we have a width that's cut off, as you can see here, based on what the maximum width that you set here. So if you want this to be smaller, you can do it, make it much smaller, of course, or you can choose full width. Now, full width, what this does, it's mainly, you can see the difference when you set a background color. So if we set a background color like that, the color of the background itself goes all the way from edge to edge of the browser, but you can still control the width of the content inside. Or you can choose real full width, and then it ignores the max width, and this stretches from edge to edge. Now we still see a little bit of space here, and that's because we have some horizontal padding, as you can see here. And all of this I'll get to in a moment. So if we move to no horizontal padding, you can see that it touches the edge, just like that. Now, as you notice, the arrows disappeared. And the arrows disappeared because we have this as outside of wrapper. So we want to put this back into inside of wrapper, and there are the arrows. And then we can minimize that a little bit more. There we go. That's what we'd like it to show. Next, we have here the section top and bottom margins. So margin is a space above and below the entire section. So if you want more space here, you can just add in more space like that, and it pushes everything at the top or the bottom. And padding is the area within the section. So if you want more space right over there, you can increase the padding. And you can see that it adds in much more. And then also on the top, there you go. We have the same padding and margin settings for mobile as well. Next, section header styling. So we have the section header max width. This is usually good if you have a really long title. Up here, you can limit the width of it. But also, if you want to have this left aligned, you don't want it to be touching here, you can make it a little bit less. You could take 85% of the width or something like that, and then you can limit its starting point. Same with the right. It's not as noticeable when you're doing centered, but if the text is long, then it'll go to a new line because it'll be limited by the max width. Could set the color. You can choose a custom font. So if you click on that, you have all the fonts available that Shopify offers. Or if you have a custom or manually installed font via CSS, you can place the CSS code right into here. It's a little bit for more advanced users. And you can set the default weight, font weight. So if you want it to be regular and not bold. We also have here the margin, top and bottom margins for the title. So you can add more space if you want to push this a little bit more, or more space between here, or less space, for instance, like that. And then you have font size. If this is at 0, it takes this font size for the H2 element from your theme. But if you want to have a different size, you could just set it right in there. And line height, which is only specific if you have 2 lines, but you can adjust the space between each line, and letter spacing, the space between each letter. And the same settings go for mobile. Next, we have very similar settings for the text right over there. So we can also make this block. We can choose a custom font. Can make this bold, and also top and bottom margins and font size like that. Line height and letter spacing as well. And same goes for all the mobile. Next, video image styling. So the styling for these images. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we have it set to square right now, but you can choose portrait, and then you have portrait orientation for the images, or landscape, like that. Or you could choose original, and in this case, all the images are sized exactly the same. But if each image is a different size, then you would see that here, and it would kind of be jagged. It could look good in some cases. It's up to you, the designer. to choose that. But let's stick with landscape for now. Now we can also adjust the height. So we can choose height here and then give a custom height to the images. So if you want them to be smaller or much bigger, and obviously that changes the orientation of it, but you can adjust that if you'd like. And same for mobile. And here I skipped one here. We can add a radius to the images. So let's say we want something like that, or maybe a little bit even less. All right. Now we can also set image opacity. So when you hover over, you can have the image fade out slightly. Play icon. You can set the play icon here. You can upload your own play icon or an SVG icon like you like, or you could just set the size of the predefined one to something like that. Next, we have carousel toggle styling, which is the toggle right over here. We can change the color of that. We can change the hover. So if we'd like that to be like a dark red when you hover, you can see that it changes. And you can remove the underline if you like. And custom font, of course. You can also set this to be centered, left aligned, or right aligned. And you can adjust the height, the line height, and the letter spacing of this. Line height isn't as relevant in this case because it's just a short word. Now, margin top, we can set from 50 top to -50 so that it can align better here. And then add in some more margins so you could do something like so. And we have the same settings for mobile. On mobile view, the expand button comes down to the bottom. So then here you have a little bit different settings to play with, like that. All right. Next, we have video text styling. So that's the text right over here. You can select to hide the title and the subtitle, or just keep the title, let's say, just like that. You can set the alignment to be left aligned, right aligned, to center. Same thing with mobile. And then we can style it. So we have the same H1 elements here. Let's set the color, set the font, set the weight. There you go. And now you can set a little bit top margin for the video. That's a little bit too much. There we go. Font size, line height, and letter spacing, just the same. And the same for mobile. Video subtitle, well, we hid it, but it's the same exact settings. You can select it to be a paragraph or any of the H's. And then we have top margins and font sizes and everything like that for it. So next we have settings for the pop-up itself. So when you click on it, you get a pop-up of the video. So while you're setting this up, because each time in theme editor that you make a change, then the page refreshes. And if we keep this preview pop-up turned on, you see a YouTube video, but then you can adjust all the settings without it having to click over and over again. So we can set the background color of this. Sorry, excuse me. The background color is this area. So let's keep that black. And then you can change the opacity of it, or you can make it full if you want, but obviously that's not really recommended. The close button, which is up at the top there, you can change that color as well. Now we have the holder. wrapper right over there. So you can choose the maximum width of it. So if you want the video to be smaller, do something like that, or you can make it much bigger, just like that. Then we have the same option for mobile, and then we have the option for the portrait videos. So when we are looking for the portrait videos, as you can see, now it's 30%. And so usually you do want it to be much smaller, because if you make it bigger, as you can see, let's click back to it, then we're going to have scrolling, because it's a portrait that has to fit within this height. So usually about around 30 is usually the recommended size, just like that. And so we have the same option for mobile there and there. Next, we have the holder background color. So here, if we choose that color, so we have that background color right over there. We have the border color. If you want a border, you can also turn the border off, of course, just like that. And you can set a border radius. Next, you can choose to either show the text on the pop-up or not. So you could just show the video or text itself, and then set the padding around here. You can see. And for mobile as well, and then align the text left, right, and center, and for mobile as well. And the same setting, very similar settings to what we had before in terms of the styling of this text. So let's just do this really quickly, like that, like so. Let's make this font so it's a little bit bigger, like that. And then same for the subtitle. All right. And those are all the settings. So now we can go back here and turn the preview off. And we have the setting that we want. So when we click on Edge, we have the video gallery just like that. You can click on it. You can watch the video right over there. Scroll in between all of them using the arrows, or go into here and see the video itself just like so. And that's it. So thank you again. We hope this section really helps your website and for you to achieve your goals. If you have any questions or any problems, please don't hesitate to reach out to us on the website or and fill out the form on the support page, or send us an email to support@qwiqode.com. Thanks again.